Hello, this is Linda Lysakowski with your quick tip today. And our question today comes from an executive director who has had some bad luck with retaining good development staff. And her question is, how do we not only find the good people, but how do we retain them? How do we keep people on our staff when they are doing a good job? They seem to get bored and they want to move on and get an advancement or go somewhere else. And we just don't know what we're doing wrong, why we can't seem to keep people. Well, there's a couple answers to that question. First of all, go back and look at the hiring process. Did you hire the right person? And did you give them the expectations? Were they realistic expectations? Or were you expecting too much from that development officer? Maybe you hired someone thinking this is the magic bullet. We're going to hire a fundraiser, and now our board and myself as the executive director, we don't have to worry about that stuff anymore because she's going to do it all now. We have this director of development. Well, fundraising is a team sport, I hate to tell you. And so it's not something that one person is going to come in and be the magic bullet that you're looking for. It still is going to involve you as a team. The executive director and the board have to stay involved in fundraising. And I've often met with boards that are hiring their very first development director, and they say, oh boy, we don't have to do that fundraising stuff anymore. We're so happy to be rid of that. And I always tell them, guess what, folks? You're probably going to be doing more fundraising now than you ever did before, because now you have a professional to coordinate it and organize it all, but it's still a team sport. So that might be one reason that you could be losing people. Another reason that I think happens in a lot of organizations, and believe me, I know a lot of development people who have left jobs for many different reasons, but a lot of times it's because their organization doesn't have a strong philanthropic culture. They don't recognize that fundraising is important. They're almost embarrassed by the fact that they have to hire somebody to raise money because they think their donors are going to be upset if they're spending money to raise money. Well, sorry to tell you, but that old adage that it takes money to make money is true in fundraising. And so sometimes there's a lack of that philanthropic culture and that sort of tin cup mentality that we just have to go out and beg for money, and we don't want to let them know that we're spending any money because we want them to think that we're poor. That's not a good way to raise money. And any good professional will tell you the best thing that you can do is to really invest in your development office. And don't always look at, oh, how much are we spending? But look at the return on the investment. How much more could you be raising if you did invest in your development office? If you invested in good software, if you invested in training and education for your development officer, even if they're experienced, things change, daily almost, it seems, in this fundraising world. Things that were never even dreamt of when I entered this field over 30 years ago are now commonplace, like social media fundraising and things like that. So there's always going to be learning that these people have to do, and invest in their education. I think that's so important. Invest in them to belong to AFP, to continue to go to conferences, attend webinars and things like that, because it's really important. And a lot of times, development people leave because they really don't feel like the organization is willing to invest time and money into the development office. And then there are some development officers who actually leave their job because of ethical issues. Fundraising has to be done ethically and professionally. And I know I've been in positions myself where the employers that I worked for were doing things that really weren't considered ethical. And so I was kind of forced to leave that job because I couldn't work for an organization that wasn't ethical and professional. So that said, I think most organizations are ethical and very professional in the way they do business. I think what the biggest issue is that lack of philanthropic culture and the lack of wanting to invest in your development office. So if you need to learn more about this and about fundraising and what it's all about, I have several courses that would be good for you, but one I'm thinking that you might want to take first is Fundraising as a Career. What are you crazy? And sometimes people from the for-profit world do think that fundraisers must be crazy or they wouldn't go into this field, but it tells you really what fundraising is all about and what you should expect from a fundraising staff. So you might want to think about taking that course as another way to learn more about retaining good fundraising staff. So bye for now, and I'll see you in the next quick tips and maybe in my course. Bye.